Chapter 51. 51, Tickling Her Heartstrings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Serena was giddy, happy, and excited. She can't wait to share the news with everyone. It's a little shallow, yes, but she feels like she accomplished something. She did review for the exams. Biology though, well, she has always been weak in science subjects, so getting an 81 is already good enough for her. She wondered if her friends were still waiting for her as looked at her watch, it's already 4.50. Wow, she didn't notice that her talk with Grace lasted that long. Anyway, Serena picked her pouch as she stood up. She was in such a good mood that she can't stop the tilting of her lips. Charlton really wanted to talk to Serena. He just can't take his mind off of her spending time with Jeffrey in the coming days. His heart won't stop racing and his stomach kept on churning. How could he tell her that he doesn't want her to join that student council? Yes, he was proud of her achievement. He was truly happy for her. But when dismissal came, Leonard wanted to go congratulate his sister first, but Charlton gave him that pleading look. Taking pity on his friend, Leonard just harumphed and left. Kylo, who saw that, patted Charlton's shoulder. I didn't know that Leonard also knew. You sure do move fast, he commented. Charlton chose to ignore that comment. He does find Kylo annoying since the incident. Sometimes, he just wishes to throttle his friend to at least relieve some of his tension from the turmoil he's been going through as of late. Anyway, good luck. See you tomorrow, Kylo said as he moved to escape. Well, he was kind of sharp when his little life is in peril. He can already feel the negative aura emitting from Charlton, so he thought that it's time to go. Serena's talk with Ma'am Grace is taking quite long. It's been 30 minutes and they're still not done. What could they be talking about? Giselle wondered aloud. Do you think she accepted? Millie asked, thinking that her friend must still be considering Charlton's feelings. Why should she not? Serena is perfect for the position. Everyone will listen to her. Via answered. Charlton saw and heard the three girls who were waiting for Serena just beside the stairs. He doesn't have a very good impression on the two because, well, they might have been spouting negative things about him behind his back. But at the same time, he also did acknowledge that they were good friends to Serena. The girls saw Charlton, who was approaching them. Since they knew that Serena have already forgiven him, they understood that they have no more say in the matter. But of course, that did not mean that Giselle and Via can't give him the eye. Hi, would you mind if I talk to Serena alone? Charlton asked politely as he gave them his pitiful little smile. Does he think that that look would make them all agree and just forgive him like that? HMPFT. Well, he's kinda correct. Charlton was undeniably handsome even when he looks a little haggard. Giselle, who didn't trust her voice, just rolled her eyes at him as she gave Via the rein to speak. Via, who was also experiencing that loss of voice, didn't speak immediately. They had been rude to him and he was still being kind and polite. She felt a little ashamed of herself. All right, Mr. Charlton. We'll go ahead. Millie, who was the most normal and had nothing to be ashamed of, replied. Thank you. Charlton replied as the girls nodded and left. When Grace left at 4.45, there were no more students loitering around the halls. Charlton first looked through the windows to observe Serena. He couldn't stop his own lips from tilting when he saw how pleased she seems. She had that smile on her and her eyes were sparkling. He can already tell that she was giddy with excitement. Her happiness pouring out of her in waves. The selfish part of him that wished to ask her not to accept the offer vanished like thin air. If that position made her that happy, then he will support her, 100%. So, when he entered the classroom, he was smiling, showing that he was sincerely happy for her. I saw the bulletin board, congratulations. I'm so proud and happy for you. Charlton greeted. Serena, who was still ecstatic, couldn't help from smiling back. She was so excited to share the news, and somewhat can't wait to see Charlton's reaction when she tells him that she joined the student council. She wondered if he would beg her not to join. Well, too bad for him, she already agreed. Thank you. Serena replied enthusiastically as she continued, and you know what? Ma'am Grace told me that I am eligible to be the freshman's female representative. Don't you think that your girlfriend is awesome? She unconsciously added the girlfriend part. What can she do? She really loves the boy, besides she's really delighted and she has already forgiven him in her heart. Also, well, she did feel that she kinda betrayed him by accepting the offer without his input. So, did you accept the offer? Charlton, infected by her positive feelings, excitedly asked. He also noted that she still considers herself as his girlfriend, so he was also quite elated. Of course. I am so excited, she replied, trying hard not to start explaining because she wanted to see the jealousy from him. Too bad that she can only be sorely disappointed. That's good. I think that joining the student council will be beneficial in the long run. There are a lot of things you can learn there, and well, like Teacher Grace, it might open a wide range of opportunities for you in the future. I'm really proud of you, you know. Charlton said as he moved to hug her. In truth, there was a huge part of him that is jealous, but he didn't want to show her that. He wanted to support her, not pull her down. It's not her fault that she was capable. Besides, she deserves it. He hasn't met any other girl who was as amazing as Serena. You're not angry at all? Serena couldn't help but ask as she hugged him back. Why should I be? He began as he looked at her. I'm so proud that my girlfriend is the most beautiful, most remarkable, most amazing, and might I add, the smartest lady of her age. And if you were just to consider my own opinion, then I shamelessly proclaim that she is perfect in every single way. Serena playfully hit his chest. Don't think that just because you have a sweet mouth that I have already forgiven you. Although she admits, what he said really did tickle her heartstrings. TBC. Chapter 52. 52, Punishment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. HMPFT. Perhaps the real reason that you fully support me is because you think that I will be more occupied, and you will have more time to spend with that Isabel when I'm not around. Serena taunted. After their peaceful reunion earlier, she still felt dissatisfied to end it at that. Charlton laughed. A part of him was happy that his girlfriend was acting jealous. After they left the classroom yesterday, Serena thought it best for him to go back to his dorm and rest. Although he didn't want to, he reluctantly agreed. After the feeling of euphoria and adrenaline of being forgiven passed, he just felt all the accumulated fatigue assault him. So now, here they are in the private music room, trying to make up for the days that they didn't get to rehearse. The wedding, which was on Sunday, was fast approaching. Aside from that, Serena will be attending her first meeting as part of the student council on Saturday. What are you laughing at? You think I'm funny? Serena, a little annoyed, asked. Why is it that Charlton was not acting jealous at all? Now, she's the one acting like a real teenage girl nagging her boyfriend. Her expectations versus reality were worlds apart. Charlton, amused by her move to hold her cheeks and kiss her. I think you're being very cute. What cute? And why are you taking liberties with me? You haven't even explained why you were there that time. Serena angrily exclaimed as she pushed him away. Charlton, who was afraid to incur her anger again and didn't want any more misunderstanding, started explaining what happened that day. So, it's that Kylo. You should not listen to him. It was a foul move for him to threaten you with our relationship. Yes, I already warned him not to do that again. But I do not want to blame him too much, because ultimately, I was also at fault, and whatever he did, was no excuse for me. So. I'm sorry, Serena. Please forgive me. I won't promise you never, but I will do my best to not cause you any hurt or pain in the future. Charlton sincerely apologized as he held her hands. Serena, feeling that she should not let the poor boy suffer any longer, nodded her head. I forgive you, but just so you know, if you were to commit the same mistake again, then you better prepare yourself. I can be very vengeful, you know. I rather you be vengeful, just, don't leave me, okay, HMPFT. So you do realize how perfect your girlfriend is. That you are so lucky that she even gives you the time of her day. Serena said as she playfully mocked him. Charlton smiled at Serena. He really likes this part of her, where she is just being a little arrogant and teasing him. This is one side she only ever shows to him. In front of the others, she is more mature and modest. What are you smiling at? You should keep in mind to never even look at another woman, because if you do, then I won't hesitate to leave you behind. There's a lot of men who can only ever wish to have me in their lives. Never. Charlton finally answered. Never what? I hope you won't think that what I'm about to say is just some sappy thing a teenage boy would say. But Serena, I love you. I don't think I will ever love another woman as much as I love you. So never think for even 1 second that I will look at another the way I look at you. I know just how lucky I am to be here right now. Charlton said honestly, shedding all masculine pride any other man may have. Serena was a little overwhelmed by his confession, but as sappy as it was, she was also overflowing with immense joy and happiness. Her heart throbbed and she just unconsciously moved to kiss him. I love you too. So, you better make true of those words. That, I can promise. Charlton replied as he smiled. Then he went to pick something from his bag. What's this? Serena asked as Charlton handed her a velvet box. Open it. When Serena opened it, she instantly recognized the necklace which she looked at when she was at Tiffany's. This necklace was supposed to be Jeffrey's gift to Emily as a symbol of his love. It was one of a kind and well, it costs a lot. But what truly astounded her was the fact that Charlton was gifting it to her now. When did he even buy it? Charlton saw Serena's confused look as she stared at the necklace, then at him. I know you don't believe me when I said that I have always wanted to kiss you. That you think that it was you who first made all the moves to make me fall in love. But I want to confess, I believe that I have loved you since the first time we met. I just didn't have the courage to tell you. I admit that I was also afraid of the consequences. But when I saw how fascinated you looked at that, I felt compelled to buy it for you. I never thought I would have the opportunity to give it to you. Why is he always saying the right words? Serena thought as she felt a little sour. How can she not love him? He loved her even at the time when she was but thinking that he was nothing but a good first target. Charlton panicked when he saw her nose redden. Was she about to cry? Wait, Serena, I don't mean to put you through any pressure. That is just my own feelings, you have no obligation to. You put it on for me. Serena said as she smiled through her teary eyes, halting him from his explanations. She thought that in any case, she will never forget this. His words truly touched her heart. Charlton nodded at a loss for words. He was just happy that she accepted. He was afraid that she would reject it. He understood that a necklace, especially one as expensive as this one, was not just a simple gift. Although a necklace is not as intimate as a ring, it is still a symbol of his love and affection, that he is committing to her and is hoping that she will place him in her heart. He understands that they are already past that stage, but he still feels like it's different when there's an object that signifies their commitment. Obviously, Serena and Charlton were having different thoughts, but the sentiments feel kind of similar. Anyway, Charlton quickly moved to put it on for her as Serena pushed her hair to the side. When Charlton was finished clasping it, he kissed the back of her neck. What do you think? Does it suit me? She asked, as she turned to look at Charlton. Charlton nodded with a smile, appreciating the fact that she's wearing it. Serena was not impressed as she raised her brow. Really? It's on top of her blouse. Maybe he didn't get what she wanted to imply. So, she removed the ribbon on her blouse. Then she unbuttoned the first three so that the necklace was lying directly on her skin. "Don't you think this looks better?" she asked. Charlton finally understood what she was getting at. Let me see," he said as he flicked her hair to the side. Then, as if to inspect it, he moved his face towards her neck, close enough that his hot breath tickled her, then he traced her skin which wasn't covered by the necklace. "I think that the collar of your blouse is hindering me from truly appreciating the view." "Oh, should you help me remove it then?" Charlton, who was too eager as they have already abstained for more than 2 weeks, lost control and accidentally ripped her blouse, making the rest of the buttons fly. "Hey!" Serena, surprised, exclaimed. "I'm sorry." He too was surprised by his own action, so he quickly moved away from her to pick the buttons up. Serena, as if suddenly inspired, had a new idea. "You know, you have been a very bad boy as of late. Don't you think that you deserve some punishment?" she suggested as she completely removed her blouse. Charlton, who was done picking up the buttons, approached her and kissed her on her mouth. He thought that whatever punishment she was thinking of, well, they can talk about it later. She pressed on his chest, pushing him away. "Not so fast." "Ha!" He felt that his erection is already killing him. She then pulled him towards the couch. She removed his coat and his necktie. Then she sat on the couch and asked him to turn around. He was confused. What was she getting at? "Don't move," she said as she pulled his hands behind him. Then he felt her bound both of his hands with his necktie. Was she thinking of what he's thinking? But he really doesn't want this now. He'll die of too much excitement. "Serena, not now, please," he began as he turned to face her. "So you still know how to beg?" she said as she smirked. TBC. Chapter 53. 53, Punishment 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Warning. Mature content. Stand straight and stay still. Serena commanded. Charlton immediately followed what she wanted him to do. Noel.n. When he did, she unbuckled his belt, then removed his pants along with his brief, freeing his shaft that was already shooting up the skies. Serena chuckled, her hot breath tickling his already swollen erection. "Please, Serena." But she just shook her head. "Take a step back and don't move unless I ask you to." Charlton complied while wincing. He wanted her so much already. In his imagination, this should be something very thrilling, but right now, with his excitement, it was already becoming painful. Serena then started removing her skirt, then her bra, followed by her panty. "Now, don't you think this necklace looks better on me this way?" Charlton felt his mouth water. His girl looked every bit as perfect. He wanted to touch her, to suckle her breast, to take her. "If you let me, I'll show you just how much I appreciate your visage wearing just that," he replied, his eyes clouded by indisputable lust, as he moved towards her. "Don't move," Serena said as she placed his discarded coat on top of the couch and sat on it. Charlton, having no choice lest he anger her and make her really punish him, stopped moving. Serena leaned her back on the couch's backrest, then brought up her legs. With her knees bended, she opened her legs wide, giving a clear view of her already glistening vagina. Charlton was directly presented a very lewd scene he thought he would only see in his dreams. She giggled seeing his reaction and his swollen member being more swollen if possible. "Do you like this view?" she asked as she started fondling her breast. Charlton's eyes were wide open in astonishment. He wanted to imprint this scene on his mind for future reference whenever he needs to masturbate. Serena continued her ministrations, enjoying Charlton's widened red eyes filled with desire, his bobbing Adam's apple as he swallowed, and his throbbing member about to explode. She continued touching herself. Her fingers tracing her body, she even squeezed her own breast, brought it close to her mouth and licked her own nipple. Then, she moved downwards, rubbed her own clit and inserted her middle finger in her dripping pussy. She pleasured herself with him watching. Then, as if not satisfied, she spread her vagina with her middle and index fingers, showing him her pink insides. "Looks like you're really being a good boy, following my orders," she said as she panted. Charlton couldn't take it anymore. He's afraid that he might just come already without even getting to touch her. So, he tried to look away. "Bad boy. Did I say that you can look somewhere else? Now kneel in front of me." Charlton quickly complied as he kneeled in front of her. It looks like you're learning quickly. You do deserve a little prize," she praised. Then, with her fingers still spreading her wet vagina, she asked, "Do you think that giving you a taste of this is enough reward?" Charlton didn't have to be asked twice. He directly planted his face on her cunt as he licked, slurped, and thrusted his tongue inside her. Serena moaned in delight. She never thought that this will be so exhilarating. A part of her wanted to die in embarrassment with what she's doing. Another was just enjoying this too much. "Stop," she said, and he did. He looked at her in askance. She ruffled his hair. "Good boy. It seems like you wish to be rewarded." Charlton's eyes were about to bleed. He can't take this anymore. "Serena, She shushed him, placing her finger on his lips as she made him sit. Then, she gripped his hard member, causing him to groan. "Lean your back on the backrest," she ordered, and he followed. Serena smiled at him as she again grasped his rigid manhood. She stroked him with her fingers. Then she wrapped her hand around him, sliding up and down his pole, causing him to buckle, hoping to increase the friction. "Do you want to be inside me?" Charlton, mad with lust, groaned, saying, "Yes," with his husky voice. "Then tell me, to whom do you belong?" "I'm yours. I'm all yours, Serena, so please. You have to remember this, you are mine. This dick of yours is also just mine. If you even dare to use it with someone else, I will castrate you. Do you understand?" "Yes, I swear. So please. I can't take this anymore." Serena smirked. She lined the tip of his penis at the entrance of her dripping vagina. Then very slowly she lowered herself until he was fully sheathed in her heat. Charlton sighed in content. The sensation he felt as her vagina swallowed his shaft, squeezing him tightly, was like he just entered heaven. Soon, Serena started moving, bouncing on his huge and hard member. She must say that she quite enjoyed this, moving at her own pace. Charlton, seeing her bouncing breast in front of him, started suckling them. Then, he felt his balls tighten. It has only been a minute and he was about to come. "Serena, I'm coming." "No." Serena exclaimed as she stopped, "You can't finish until I do." But it was too late. Charlton pushed Serena a little so that his dick was successfully removed from her vagina as he came. "Sorry." He laughed, trying to cover his shame. He just wanted to bury himself in a hole somewhere. Serena didn't know if she should laugh or cry. She went all through that trouble and this was what she got. She must say that this was karma. Charlton, seeing the disappointment on Serena's face, can only say, "Please untie me, I'll make it up to you." He too was very unsatisfied with the turn of events. She turned to face him as she said, "You better do." And so, this led to Charlton trying to prove himself over and over by making Serena reach orgasm many times that she lost count and fainted. TBC. Chapter 54. 54. Final rehearsal before the wedding. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alright everyone, that's it for today. Thank you very much and see you all next week. Felix said as he dismissed the class early. He was eager to hear his 4 students play as the wedding was already on Sunday. The students, except for Leonard, Kylo and Serena's friends, left in an orderly manner. "Charlton, Jeffrey, Emily and Serena, please come forward as I give you instructions for the event." Felix began as the 4 moved to the front. On the day itself, there will also be a group of musicians playing as the guests fill the church. Now, when it's the bride's entourage turn to enter, Jeffrey and Emily, the two of you will play pachelbels up to when the bride's parents wait at the middle of the aisle for their daughter to enter. He instructed as he looked at the two and received their nods. Then he continued, after that, you two will leave for Serena and Charlton to take over. So, Serena, you need to be alert as there's only one piano in the church. So, the timing is very crucial. Now, when the doors of the church start to open, I want you and Charlton to start playing the music. I'm getting the goosebumps just thinking about it. He said while closing his eyes, as if savoring the event in his imagination. Serena and Charlton looked at each other and smiled. It was exactly what they had in mind. By the way, the location of you singing is at the side of the altar. Although not obtrusive, people can still see you. I hope that is all right with you all. Felix reminded. The four nodded in understanding. Well, that was one of the main purposes why Felix requested this favor from them. For people to see that they are playing at that event. Alright, so now, we can start our final rehearsal for the event. Now, Jeffrey, Emily, please take your positions. Serena, Charlton, stand on the side. Again, Serena, please be prepared to take over, you won't have enough time. Emily, you need to leave after you play, but don't make it look hasty. Also, you too, Serena, try not to make your change in positions look very rushed. Once you are seated, you must start playing immediately. I understand that the piano goes first before the cello. Jeffrey stood beside the piano as Emily sat on the stool in front of it. Charlton and Serena stood at the sides behind the two where Felix pointed them to. When they were all in their positions, Kylo started cheering. Go guys! Make us proud! Jeffrey, hearing Kylo's cheer, smirked a little. Emily, who was not close to them, just closed her eyes in concentration. Charlton gave him the thumbs up, and Serena, who was still annoyed with him, recalling what happened last time, just rolled her eyes. The girls also cheered, calling Serena's name. They are so not going to cheer for Emily in any way, but to not make it obvious, they also did not call the name of the boys. Then the music started playing. This time, Jeffrey and Emily were perfectly in tune. Felix nodded his head along, appreciating the music. When the music ended, Emily stood up slowly to give way to Serena, who was approaching from behind. Jeffrey too left the stage to give way to Charlton, who sat on a chair beside the piano. The transition was perfect, and so were their music. After they played, everyone started clapping their hands. Perfect. I believe that the four of you are more than prepared for Sunday. By the way, Serena, Charlton, I believe that the two of you are joining the reception to sing the song. What's the title of the song, Serena? So that I will get to announce it at the wedding. Felix asked. It's Can't Help Falling in Love, sir. Serena answered. What a strange title. Are you sure you do not want to change it? For example, dedicating the song to someone special, like Beethoven's Für Elise. Or include your name in the title. Serena laughed. No sir, I think the title is good enough. Okay, that's up to you. Anyway, I will ask you two to play the song after dinner, before the couple share their first dance. Is that all right? Obviously, the placement of their performance was after dinner so that the guests can see them throughout the wedding. If it were earlier, then Felix was afraid that the two would not stay for long after playing. That's all right, sir. I think that's a good timing. Serena agreed. Charlton also nodded his head. Since that is settled, can the two of you also show us how you will be performing the song? Felix requested. Serena blushed. If they do what they did last time, even Jeffrey, who seemed aloof, would surely catch on. Charlton, understanding her concern, shook his head. We'll leave that as a surprise, Sir Felix. Felix laughed. All right, I am sure whatever you planned would be delightful. Serena nodded her head along as she stood up from the piano. Now, for the schedule and venue, the wedding will be at 3:30 in the afternoon at St. Mary's Church. I expect all of you will be there by 3 at the latest. I understand that you prefer to have your own arrangements to get there. Yes, sir, the 4 of them voiced their agreement. Good. Charlton and Serena, the attire for the event is formal. It will be held at the Ritz Hotel, while for the schedule, cocktail hour starts at 5:30 while the reception itself will begin at 6 in the evening. Dinner will be served by 6:30, and I believe that you will be performing by 8. The whole event will end by 10. I understand that that would already a little late, so you may leave by 8:30. However, if you wish to join the festivities, I can send a notice to your dormitories and give the 2 of you an excuse slip for getting back late. What do you think? How can Charlton let the chance slip away? But he must pretend not to be affected. So, he said, I think that the event is ending a little late and we have classes the next day, so we might leave early. However, just to be on the safe side, please do give us the slip, sir. All right then. Since everything is settled, I will see the 4 of you on Sunday. Felix said as he picked up his belongings. Then he turned to leave. Serena, congratulations for placing 3rd on the preliminary exam. I'm so proud of you. Leonard, who didn't have the chance to congratulate her earlier, said. You should be. Serena not only placed 3rd, she also made history. She is the first woman who made it in the top 10 for the freshman's preliminary exam, and she was also offered to be our female representative, which she accepted. Giselle, who walked to the front along with Vea and Millie when Felix left, chimed in. Then as an afterthought, she looked at Emily and added, oh, Emily also made it to 9th place. Though a little further down, you must congratulate her too, she continued aloud, emphasizing on the 9th place just so that she can rub it on Emily's face. Emily, who was still in the room, felt her face flush. She doesn't understand why the girls were antagonizing her. It's not like she did anything to them, other than looking at them irritably, as their air-headedness did annoy her. As she felt her tears prick her eyes, she quickly left the room when she finished putting her books in her bag. Geoffrey, who saw that Emily didn't do anything to the girls to deserve the sarcastic remark, raised his brow and spoke as if in retaliation. Some people just love riding on other people's coattails, not even looking at themselves in the mirror. Anyway, congratulations Ms. Maxwell, he addressed Serena as he looked at her and continued, I hope that you'll endeavor to do well while being careful of riding too high in the saddle as the fall might be too painful. I would also advise you to be more discerning with the company you choose. Giselle turned red with humiliation but could not talk back. That was the Crown Prince. She doesn't understand why he is speaking for Emily, but how could he say those words to Serena? Charlton and Leonard were both insulted on Serena's behalf. Both were about to voice their protest, but Serena beat them up to it. Thank you. Serena said as she smiled graciously. If he thought that she would take that lying down like a doormat, then he was sorely mistaken. I will continue to work hard as not to fall off the saddle like you said, though I should say the same to you, for yours seem to be much higher. Also, thank you for the unsolicited advice, but I rather like the company I keep, so if you'll excuse me. She finished without taking off the smile on her face. Then, she turned away from him to talk to Leonard. Geoffrey felt incensed but chose not to reply. He understood that he was at fault as what he said was uncalled for. However, he could not take his words back. Wanting to leave, he looked at Charlton who was not looking at him, and then at Kylo who just smiled awkwardly. He didn't turn to look at Leonard for he was sure he just angered his friend. Thus, he moved to collect his things and left the classroom. TBC. Chapter 55. 55. Arrangements for the weekend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Geoffrey left the room and walked down the stairs, he saw Emily slowly walking out of the building. Her shoulders were slumped, and he saw her wipe her tears with her hands. He felt that she looked too pitiful, so he chased after her. When he reached her, he pulled her to an inconspicuous corner behind the main school building. Why are you crying? Emily hiccuped as she said, I just feel bad about myself. I thought that if I were able to best everyone else, I would deserve to stand beside you. But, my efforts were just in vain. You are beyond my reach. You don't have to work so hard to stand beside me, he said as he shook his head. But I want to, and I hope you won't be angry with what I am about to say. She paused and looked at him as if asking for permission. I won't, so do tell me. Earlier, I felt even worse because it made me realize that Serena was much better than me in comparison. She is just too perfect. She has everything and everyone likes her. I do believe that your heart for me is true, but I know that it is still her that you're bound to marry, and I'm afraid that she will move your heart. Geoffrey shook his head, remembering how Serena responded to his offensive remark. He knew that he was the one in the wrong, but he did not expect that his airhead-looking fiancée will catch on to his meaning immediately, and more so, even giving him a biting retort. From the very start, he already labeled Serena as the attention-seeking sort. She likes being in the middle of the spotlight, basking in her own glory. What surprised him though was that she had the ability to back it up. Yes, Serena was beautiful and capable. But she was too full of herself, or at least that was how he perceived her. He had to admit though, that if she were to tone it down a little, there's a chance that she might pique his interest. However, as she is now, he would rather prefer someone like Emily who was humble and self-aware. Emily, don't compare yourself to others. You should focus on yourself. You are kind and hard-working, and I believe you will reach further heights in the future. Do not let something like an exam daunt you. So, please stop crying and have more faith. Geoffrey comforted her by giving her a slight smile and then hugging her. Emily hugged him back as she nodded her head. There was silence in the room as 6 pairs of eyes looked at Serena in amazement. Serena, can I hero worship you now? No one, save for my parents, ever defended me like that before. I even doubt that they would say those words to a crown prince, Giselle said with stars in her eyes. Will you be okay after that, Serena? Via asked worriedly. What if Geoffrey tries to get even? Don't worry about it. What can he do to me? Serena replied, smiling, served him right. Millie exclaimed. Charlton shook his head. What use was it for him to be a knight in the shining armor? His girlfriend can perfectly defend herself. Not only that, but she was also even capable of pushing her opponent down and step on them too. Kylo thought that he was beginning to like her more. Perhaps, she really was not that bad. Not that his opinion matters. Leonard was not surprised as the others since, he knew that there was a part of Serena that has been very spoiled. Facing his sister, he veered the conversation. You will be joining the student council meeting tomorrow, right? Yes, I was informed that the meeting will be held at the annex building at 9. That is correct. Would you need me to guide you? I can fetch you by 8:45. That would be lovely, Brother Leonard. Serena replied. After, everyone turned to leave. The boys walked the girls back to their dormitory. Should I accompany you going to the church on Sunday? Leonard asked Serena as they stood at the dorm's lobby. No need, the coachman can just send me. Besides, the prince might be bringing his own entourage of guards, so you can be rest assured. Serena replied. But how about the reception? You're coming back late, Mr. Charlton will be with me, so don't worry. Serena replied as she eyed Charlton, who was itching to talk to her alone. However, with Leonard present, all his attempts have been thwarted. Leonard turned to face Charlton, who immediately grinned at him. The action made him roll his eyes. Whatever did Serena saw in him? Geoffrey may be an ass, but he must admit that objectively, regarding everything else, excluding the face, he is superior to Charlton. I hope that you would take good care of my sister and bring her back to her dorm, not a hair misplaced. Leonard said, addressing Charlton. Of course. You can leave her to me. Charlton replied. Leonard gave him another once-over as he sighed. He should have just nipped their relationship from the bud. But what can he do? Serena was her own person. All right then. I'll see you tomorrow. Serena nodded. Then Charlton approached her. I'll need to do something tomorrow, so I'll see you on Sunday. Oh, okay. I'll see you at the church. I was hoping to meet earlier, but all right, let's meet at the church. Charlton agreed. When the boys went back to their dorm, Leonard gave Charlton a warning look as they parted ways. On the other hand, Kylo followed Charlton like a puppy. Charlton was still giving him the cold shoulders, but they have been friends for so long, so he will undoubtedly be forgiven. Ugh, what are you looking for? You're turning your room upside down. Kylo commented as Charlton rummaged through his room. Charlton picked up his shell cordovan leather boots studded with a piece of 2-carats diamond on each side. What do you plan to do with that? Kylo asked with wide eyes. He recognized that boots which Charlton received as a graduation gift from his uncle. He remembered that he wanted it so much that he had to beg for his mother to commission one for him. Sadly, she said that he didn't deserve it. It costs at least 50 grand. I'm planning to pawn it off. I am in dire need of money. Huh. If we have the same foot size I would buy it from you. How could you? They will only pay you 20 grand for those at most. A real loss. I still need to pay you for last time. Also, I don't have money for the rest of the year anymore. Then just write a letter to your mother. I know that she will send you some. Also, what will you need the money for? Ah. You can use your credit card. Why the need for cash? My own already reached its credit limit and the one which is connected to the ducal house, well, I don't want my mother to know where I will be spending it. Ha. I bet you're planning to book a room at the Ritz. You naughty boy. If I had some cash left, I would lend it to you. But it's already the end of the month and my allowance is not coming until the 3RDMY credit card has also been cut off. Obviously, his mother cut his credit card because of his uncontrollable spending habits. I don't want to pawn this off, but I don't really have a choice. I would want to earn some money, but I don't know where to get it from or how. Ha. Why don't you ask me? I know where and how. Charlton raised his brows as he said, really? Don't tell me you're planning to lead me to some gambling den. Or maybe introduce me to some loan sharks. Kylo laughed. No. Well, kind of, but we will be earning money fair and square. Are you interested? Charlton felt that what Kylo's talking about was quite interesting. He did feel guilty that he was only able to spend money on his girlfriend through the means of his allowance. All right, count me in. When and where will we be heading? We can leave here tomorrow at 3, we can pawn the shoes first so that we will have some money to bet and then we can redeem it after. Just as I thought. You'll be bringing me to a gambling den. What if we lose? You do trust your sword fighting skills, right? I remember you once told me that no one, save for your father, has ever beat you since you turned 16. Unless those were all just you, bragging. I was not just bragging, I do have confidence in my skill. But what's that got to do with this? Because dear Charlie, that is what we will be betting on. Kylo answered as he smirked. TBC. Chapter 56. 56, Student Council Meeting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Serena went down to the lobby at 8:43, Leonard was already present, waiting. Serena observed that Leonard was wearing a dark gray frock coat made of wool which complemented his tall figure. Ah, such a hot specimen. Look at those earnest eyes. If not for Charlton, I would totally pick this brother of mine rather than any of the male here. She thought as she sighed. Leonard, who saw his sister, noted her attire. She was wearing a dark blue long flowing gown with bell-shaped long sleeves. It was more modest in comparison to those which she usually wore since they arrived in school. He unconsciously nodded his head in approval. "Did you have your breakfast already?" he asked. "Yes, how about you?" she replied as she motioned for them to start walking. "I did." "That is good, the meeting usually takes an hour or two, and we just have breaks in between. However, as today is your first day along with the other freshman representative, it might take longer. I would say roughly 3 hours straight, since the council will need to tell you about what is expected of you, what your responsibilities are, and other additional matters necessary. So, I assume that it will be time for lunch when we're done." Serena nodded as they continued to walk without really understanding what he was talking about. She was busy gazing at his slightly reddened and thin lips that kept on moving. "Just let me enjoy looking at this hot meat in front of me. What Charlton doesn't know won't hurt him, it's not like I'm doing something bad, right? Ha ha ha." Leonard stared at Serena. She looked somewhat absent-minded. He grabbed her arm to pull her over, effectively stopping her from walking straight to lamp post. "What's on your mind? Are you still sleepy?" he asked, concerned. Serena, as if awakened by just what happened, blushed. "Sorry." Leonard, taking it as her just being a little nervous, and perhaps panicky because Jeffrey will be there, tried to comfort her. "Don't worry, I will be there with you. So just relax." Serena nodded while thinking, such a fine gentleman, I wonder which girl would be lucky enough to have him. Grace Astoria perhaps. She's older than him, but I personally think that they would be perfect for each other. Oh well, for now, I'll just enjoy ogling my Adonis of a brother. The annex building was located behind the main building. It was significantly smaller and only had 2 floors. The student council meeting room was located on the first floor along with the rooms used as offices and meeting rooms by the school administration. While the second floor, which was a mezzanine, was dedicated to the faculty with their own consultation rooms. When Serena and Leonard entered the meeting room, it was already 8:55. Inside, there was a rectangular long table good for 12 people. About 7 people were already seated, leaving the head seat, which was reserved for the president, the 3 seats facing the door, and the seat at the other end of the table, empty. "Good morning, Leonard, and you must be Ms. Serena Maxwell. By the way, congratulations for getting 3rd place on the exam." Serena smiled at the lively boy who addressed her. He was cute and was shorter than her by about 2 inches, giving the illusion that he was a pubescent boy. "Thank you," she replied, giving him a kind smile. "Good morning, Artemis." "Serena, this is Artemis Phillip, don't let his looks deceive you. He is actually a senior student and is our vice president." Serena's eyes widened. "Is this a real-life example of a shota?" "Nice to meet you, Mr. Phillip," she greeted. "No need to call me a mister, it makes me feel old. Anyway, please be seated. You'll get to be introduced to everyone later," Artemis said as he smiled at her. Leonard led Serena to sit beside him. She was now seated at the left side on the 4th seat from the head chair. She looked around at everyone and saw them all giving her a welcoming smile. At 9 on the dot, the door of the student council meeting room opened and in came Jeffrey. He was wearing a formal black coat and pants. He did not have a tie on, and the top 2 buttons of his inner light blue polo was left open, revealing a bit of his pale collarbones. Serena had to admit, he really looked good. His figure being the personification of all the brooding Prince Charming in novels and manhwas she read about. "Good morning, everyone," Jeffrey began as he stood beside his chair. The rest of the student council faced him to greet him back. Then he pulled his chair and sat. "Today, we have 2 new members joining us. Please let us give them a round of applause to congratulate them for their achievement in the exams." Everyone started clapping their hands, and after they were done, he continued, "Let us begin with us introducing ourselves, so that our 2 new members will get to know us, and us them. I will start. I am Jeffrey William, a second-year student. Last year, I was just a first-year representative too. It was thanks to the confidence placed upon me by our fellow members that I am now the president of this council. I am the Crown Prince of Windsor. He finished. I am Artemis Phillip, a senior student. I was also part of the student council in the past 2 years. Now, I am its vice president. I am the son and heir of the Duke of Wellington from Julio. I am Diana Murphy, a senior student. I have been part of the student council since last year. Presently, I am its secretary and my duty is to prepare the minutes of our meetings. I am a daughter of Marquis Murphy from Gia. A girl with tan skin and black eyes said. Hi. I am Mary Thompson, a second year and the treasurer of the council. This is also my second year as part of this council. My origins are humbler than the other 3 before me, as my father is just an earl from Russo. The girl, with auburn hair and few freckles on her cheeks, said as she chuckled. The others were being too serious. Geoffrey shook his head. This was a formal meeting, not a get-together with friends, but just chose to let it be. The others chuckled with the girl though. I am Dather James, a senior student representative. This is my first year as part of this council, and I'm also looking forward to the experience. I am the second son of Duke James from Militia. A handsome boy with brown hair and slightly tanned skin said. Serena noted that he was from the same country as her friends, Giselle and Via. I am Joan Kira, also a senior representative. I have been part of the council since last year. I am a daughter of the Duke of Artos from Alighieri. A very pretty girl with silver hair and purple eyes, the same as Kylo said. I am Leonard Maxwell, a second-year representative. It is also my first year here, but I have been doing voluntary work with the council since last year. I am the son and heir to the ducal house of Maxwell from Windsor. I am Gina Oslo, also a second-year representative. This is my first time as a council member, so please be kind to me. I am a daughter of Marquis Oslo from Horace. A bespectacled girl with brown hair tied into 2 braids said. Then it was Serena and the other representatives' turn. The boy, being a gentleman, signaled Serena to go first by nodding at her. I am Serena Maxwell, a first-year student. Being part of this council is new to me, so I will be grateful for everyone's guidance. I am the daughter of Duke Maxwell from Windsor. She said as she tried to smile, a little conscious as she felt everyone's eyes on her. I am Douglas Sheeran, also a first-year student. I am pleased to meet everyone here, and let me express my thanks in advance for your guidance. I am the Crown Prince from the Kingdom of Julio. Serena looked at the boy again. Oh yes, she remembers now. The boy was also part of the Emily Evans list of heartbroken suitors. They met in this council and the boy fell in love with her. Oh well, none of her business. The boy looked handsome, but not even half as good-looking as her Charlton. He can't even hold a candle to Geoffrey. He should be thankful of not meeting Emily though. He just escaped his fate of being another pitiful cannon fodder. After everyone was done introducing themselves, Geoffrey began what would be a long discussion regarding the responsibilities and expectations for a student council member. TBC. Chapter 57. 57, Student Council Meeting 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mr. Douglas Sheeran and Ms. Serena Maxwell. We all welcome you to the Student Council as first-year representatives. Now that you are part of this body, I would want you to keep in mind that you are now role models to the other students in this school. Further, you will also represent our school in different occasions in the future. So, I hope that you will exemplify excellence in your behavior at all times, or at least when in public. Geoffrey said as he looked at Serena and Douglas. Serena, seeing that Geoffrey was being professional, nodded. Douglas also nodded his head. Diovico, now, being part of the council is a privilege as it gives us the opportunity to serve our fellow students. At the same time, we may use this experience as a stepping stone for wider prospects, and even as a training ground for our future roles in accordance to our position in society. However, with this privilege comes certain responsibilities that we must fulfill. He paused for effect, seeing everyone nodding, he continued. The student council takes on a wide range of responsibilities, but mainly, it can be divided into two parts. The internal and the external. Internally, meaning in campus, we are tasked to organize student activities like school dances, intramurals, assemblies, and the likes. While externally, we are expected to initiate community outreach representing the goodwill of our school. Sometimes, we conduct fundraising movements, but this is only used as a last resort and is highly discouraged. The school gives the body a certain monetary budget to be used for our projects, and they expect us to work on that. This also serves as good training for us, because in the real world, the funds are not free-flowing and so, we must spend the budget wisely. Treasurer Thompson, please kindly inform the council of this year's budget. For this year, the annual budget is at 250 grand. Last time, we spent 5 grand for the materials given to the students to help them review for the preliminary exam. Thus, we only have 245 left. Mary announced. Thank you for that. Now, let us talk about the structure of our council and the roles of each member. The council is composed of 10 members, 4 each from the seniors and sophomores, and 2 from the freshmen. As you can notice, we are also equally divided by gender. To be considered to become part of the council, one must be one of the top performing students in their year. Usually, the one to get first place will be the first to be considered. The results are also usually consistent. That is why most of those who were members from their first year continue to become members until they graduate. Vice President Artemis, if you will. Jeffrey said, asking Artemis to continue. So as our president was saying, members are selected by their overall school performance. At the beginning of the year, the first 8 members will be the top 2 performing male and female students of their batch. Then, on the first meeting, an election among members will be conducted. The president becomes responsible for the overall direction of the council. He will represent us when talking to the school dignitaries. The vice president takes his responsibility when he is otherwise indisposed. Thus, when the president is busy in external matters, I am the one who will be heading the meetings. The secretary is responsible for writing and keeping the minutes. This is a very important role as she holds the proof of all our agreements and what not in our meetings. Then we have our treasurer who keeps check of our funds. Don't try to hold her for ransom though, she doesn't really have the money. Artemis jokingly said as he chuckled and continued. Now, the batch representative's role is to divulge information and at the same time, gather the sentiments and opinions from their batchmates regarding the internal tasks of the council. Basically that's a quick summary of everything. Artemis finished. Thank you for that, Vice President. In addition, I would also include that your responsibilities do not end there. You must also join the council in our outreach activities, unless in cases where there are unforeseen emergencies. Everyone is also expected to actively participate in discussions, school activities, and express their opinion regarding topics that needs approval in the future. Our council exercises democracy, and majority wins through voting is how we decide on matters. Now Secretary Murphy, please inform them of our list of activities for this year, instructed Jeffrey. Thank you, President Williams. Based on our previous meetings, we agreed that for this year, we will have 5 major activities. Internally, we will have 3 celebratory balls, which are, the founding anniversary ball scheduled this December, the spring ball in March, and the year-end ball in June. We will also have the intramural set to begin in February and end sometime in April. Externally, we will have an outreach program with an orphanage wherein we will be visiting them for at least twice a month for the rest of the school year. Other activities would include providing materials for the students to help them review for the coming exams. But we cannot add more because of budget constraints. Diana summarized. Okay, so I hope that is clear to our new members. Next Sunday, we will start our outreach by visiting the orphanage to get us acquainted with the place and the children. We do not have a detailed plan on what to work with in our outreach, but the main purpose is to help the older children in the orphanage to cope with feelings of insecurity. As of now, we will guise our purpose by sharing our knowledge. However, I am not sure about their academic prowess, so let us discuss about it more after our first visit. Everyone in the room nodded in understanding. Jeffrey continued talking about other miscellaneous matters which was of no concern to Serena. Thus, she started observing everyone in the room instead. Serena looked at Jeffrey, who was still all seriousness as he spoke. She must say that he must really like his own voice. But joking aside, he was really good at taking the lead role. He was well organized, responsible and passionate about his position. As expected of the male lead. Alright, are there any questions? Especially from our new members? Jeffrey asked. Douglas raised his hand. I just have a question. I heard from Representative Leonard that he has been doing voluntary works for the council since he was a freshman. So, can other students participate in the council? Yes and no. Not everyone can just join us in the meetings. However, they can volunteer to help us in our other work. Like for example, in preparing for the events. A member might be tasked to take responsibility in picking and preparing the food for the event. Now, for this case, she may ask her friends for help in selecting a reputable caterer. Or for example in decorating the place. Something like that. Another is through our outreach program. A student may volunteer to join us, or we may ask them to aid us. The condition to be eligible is that he/she must be within the top 5 of his/her respective class in terms of the latest examination result. The reason is to ensure that the student can do voluntary work and maintain their academic standing at the same time. In fact, for our outreach, I already received some names of students who wishes to join us. I see. What is the schedule for our outreach again? Thank you, it is scheduled on Sunday next week. We will meet here at 8 in the morning as the school will be providing us with escorts, and if needed, service. We are expected to arrive there by 9 in the morning, and we will be back in school by 5 p.m. Douglas nodded in understanding as he said thank you. Alright, how about the others? Jeffrey asked. When no one spoke he said, since there are no more questions, then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you everyone and see you next week. As everyone were collecting their things before leaving, Jeffrey glanced at Serena. He was thinking if he should apologize for his conduct yesterday. Although he does not see her in a positive light, he would still be seeing her regularly and on some occasions even work with her. Also, she was his intended, and though he only sees that arrangement as purely political, in the near future, he will most probably be spending the rest of his life with her. However, his pride got in the way. Why should he lower his head first? Although he was in the wrong, she too reprimanded him. Anyway, it seems like she was not that petty to hold what happened against him. She was polite throughout the meeting. Therefore, he decided that we'll just leave the status quo be. TBC. Chapter 58. 58, Underground Arena. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We look like hooligans that stick out like a sore thumb. Charlton told Kylo as they entered the lobby of a renowned gambling den. That's the purpose. How can we be approached by the scouts if we didn't look like we're looking for a fight? At 3 in the afternoon, he and Kylo went to the pawn shop to pawn off his shoes inlaid with diamonds. After much haggling, Kylo was able to raise the price to 20 grand. However, as interest must be paid immediately even when they planned to redeem it only after just a few hours, they only received 19 grand. After, they bought some ordinary-looking clothes and masks to hide their identities. Inside, the den was gigantic and imposing. Contrary to popular belief, Charlton observed that the place was brightly lit. The floors were even covered in thick, exquisite carpet. The place was lively, buzzing with well-dressed people of different social status. After a while, as Kylo predicted, they were approached by a scout. "Are you guys looking for the arena?" a man asked them in secrecy. "Yes. My friend here would like to test his skills in a fight," Kylo replied. "You're at the right place at the right time. Our top fighter, Rocky, is in today. If you want to, I can lead you both underground." "Alright, please lead the way." Kylo and Charlton followed the scout, who led them to an inconspicuous area that has a mechanized hoisting device which was better known as the elevator. Kylo whistled. He didn't know that they actually have such an expensive device in the den. The scout entered and pressed a button. They followed the man quietly, not raising any questions. When the elevator stopped and opened, they were led to a dimly lit place with the smell of cigar. "Welcome to the arena. Please follow me as I introduce you to our manager." When they reached the manager, he was pleased to welcome them. "Good evening, gentlemen. I am Bryce, the manager of the arena. My scout here informed me that one of you wishes to fight with our Rocky." "Yes, it's my friend here," Kylo said. Charlton meanwhile was observing the area. He saw that in the middle of the room, there was a cage lit by spotlights with two fighters inside. "That man with the bald head is Rocky. He is our top fighter and uses a hatchet and a hammer as his weapon. But don't worry, it has been dulled as to not cause too much damage on his opponents. Although the fight is until you knock out your opponent, we can't let fighters lose their limbs, much worse their lives. At most, you will just have to recuperate for a week or two." The manager, afraid of losing a new contender, explained. "They have been having trouble finding Rocky an opponent as of late." Suddenly a man shouted, "Come on, Creed. Stand up. I've bet everything on you." "No," a man who looked like his world just fell apart screamed. Charlton winced. Don't mind him. We're doing things fair and square. He just bet everything because he was lured by the high stakes. If you bet on Rocky's opponents, it's 1:5 or more. It depends who the opponent is. Looking at your friend, Mr. Floyd, you may call me Floyd. Meanwhile, you may call my friend here as Manny," Kylo introduced, lest Charlton blow up their cover. "Floyd, I would say that the stakes if Manny is to fight would be 1:10. Meaning if you bet $1,000, you'll win 10. But we need you to pay $3,000 to enter the fight. I'll leave you to discuss first," the manager said, hoping that the two young men will be tempted. Their boss was here today with an unknown man. He can't afford not to have anything for show. "Hey, you think you can beat him? He looks scary," Kylo asked Charlton, who was busy observing Rocky. The man looked like he was in his 30s. He was heavily muscled and was only wearing his pants. He had a hammer and hatchet at the sides as he was seated on one corner of the cage. Charlton wasn't able to watch enough to be able to gauge his skills. But what he did saw was that the man's attacks earlier were wild and unpredictable, showing that he was not formally trained to be a warrior. "I think I can handle him," Charlton assessed. "You think? How confident are you?" Kylo asked again. "If they lose, then well, they will be left with nothing." "Quite confident." "How much should we bet?" "We should leave at least $2,000 for insurance. You know, so that if you lose, you will still have your check that in money for tomorrow." Charlton laughed as he shook his head. "No, put it all in. I need the prize. We'll leave just after this one fight." Kylo, who was not as confident as Charlton, went to talk with the manager, his heart bleeding with apprehension. "My friend will fight. Here is the $3,000 for entrance fee." The manager eagerly received the money. Well, another loser took the bait. Anyway, the two looked like they can afford it. They were dressed like hooligans, but their shoes and manners gave them away. Another pair of overconfident pampered brats. "Thank you, I will announce the betting open. By the way, if you win, you get the entrance fee back." After a while, the manager returned and told Kylo that the stakes turned out about were indeed 1:10. How much would you like to bet? 16 grand. Kylo replied as he handed him the money. The manager smiled. If he assumed that they would win, he would not easily accept such a large bet. 160 grand is almost about the same amount as their net income in a month. However, seeing Manny, who did not look much of a promising fighter, he gladly accepted the money. Alright, the fight will start in 15 minutes. Manny should choose a weapon over there, he said, pointing at the side near the cage. All the weapons to be used in fighting should come from us to ensure that they are dulled. However, the fight may still turn ugly, so he may wish to wear some of the armor. Also, the fight has no time limit. It ends when one gets knocked out. Kylo nodded his head. Alright, I'll tell him that. Kylo went over to Charlton and relayed what the manager said. Okay, got it. Let me pick a sword. Charlton replied as he went over the weapons area. He settled for a transitional, also known as multipurpose sword. Won't you be wearing an armor? No, that would only slow me down. Charlton replied as he walked towards the cage. TBC. Chapter 59. 59, Underground Arena 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Charlton reached the cage, the scout earlier greeted him. Good luck, Mr. Manny, he said as he motioned him to enter. Charlton gave him a nod. Inside the cage was the manager making some announcements. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, you will witness another round of exciting fight in the arena. We have here at the right side, our undisputed champion for the last 3 months, Rocky. He paused, letting the crowd cheer loudly. Then to our left, is the challenger, Manny. A resounding boo was heard. Hey little fellow. Don't go crying to mommy when you get all beat, random man started shouting. Charlton paid him no heed as he concentrated on his opponent. Now, let me say that killing your opponent or making them permanently disabled are against the rules. But other than that, everything in this cage goes. Once I step out of this cage, the fight shall commence. He said as he stepped out. Then he continued from outside, so, without further ado, let us start the match. He bellowed. Tightening his grip on the sword, Charlton approached Rocky slowly. Rocky was in an easy stance, he had his hatchet ready in front of him while his hammer was raised above his head. Charlton adjusted his step, circling to Rocky's right. Just outside the reach of Rocky's hammer swing. Rocky shifted to ensure that Charlton was just in front of him. He held himself with confidence, assured in his superiority. He was larger and stronger. He is being arrogant. That is good, Charlton thought. He has been trained with the sword for as long as he can remember. Although their country has been in peace for roughly 30 years, his family was still a military one, holding the command to an army of 100,000. Aside from skills, he was taught that there were 4 factors that govern a sword fight. Timing, distance, reaction time and reaction ability. The reason why he chose not to wear an armor was precisely because of these. In war, wearing an armor was necessary, but in a duel like this, the advantage it can bring would only wear him down. He continued to drift around the man, maintaining the same distance while holding the dulled sword to his side. Move. We're not here to watch you two just observing each other, the man yelled. Charlton did not let the yell get to him as he continued to assess Rocky, trying to ascertain a weak spot of his opponent. He stopped being aware of the surrounding, even of his own breathing, as his mind unconsciously focused on the subtle shift in Rocky's posture and position. Having rounded Rocky twice, Charlton settled into a low stance. Sword ready as he wondered how long. Rocky was more impatient, and he leaped forward. The dulled hatchet lashing out at Charlton's neck. It was a marvelously delivered blow. Charlton took a step back, evading the attack, but trailing behind the hatchet was the hammer, held high in preparation to swing down and shatter Charlton's bones. A less experienced fighter would have tried to take another step back, moving away to evade the hammer that was coming immediately. However, Charlton stepped forward as he used his sword to push the hammer aside, using the weight of his opponent to make him off balance. He thought that he now has the upper hand, as the man was slightly bent forward. However, he did not expect that despite his burly body, the man was quick to react. He used his elbow as he turned, effectively hitting the base of Charlton's ribcage. The crowd roared with delight. "Go Rocky, beat that unknown fighter to a pulp." Kylo felt cold sweat drip from his forehead. Were they to lose all the money, leaving Charlton broke with some broken bones too as souvenir? Charlton felt his breath abandon his body when he got hit, but he did not allow that to make him falter. He felt the hammer coming and he darted to the left. As he moved, his right hand with the sword slashed across Rocky's body, hitting him at the side. However, Charlton was left with no opportunity to investigate the damage as Rocky's hatchet came whirling past his nose. The only reason that the hatchet missed was because the move was something familiar to Charlton. The whirling arm-over-arm assault, which was an impossible tangle of limbs to the untrained eye, was the style of one of his father's knights. So instinctively, he pulled back before it can hit him. Rocky's attacks continued to rain over Charlton, who evaded. Charlton knew that he cannot win Rocky with brute strength, so he continued to be on the defensive, making a slash and stab from time to time. Then he saw an opening. Charlton did not wait around to see if Rocky could still continue the whirlwind series of attack. As he saw that his opponent was at a bad angle, he took the opportunity to kick Rocky behind his knees, causing him to kneel on the ground. With Rocky's back behind him, Charlton put as much strength as he could in the attack. Using the flat middle of his sword, ensuring that he would only make his opponent faint and not cause any permanent damage, he hit the back of Rocky's neck. Rocky jerked forward as he fell completely. He was left unconscious as his saliva pooled from his mouth. The crowd fell silent, shocked to see their fallen star. Then loud cheers instantly erupted. The name Manny instantly becoming a sensation. Kylo instantly felt that they hit the jackpot. Their 16,000 becoming 160,000 plus the 3,000 entrance fee. Charlton walked out of the cage, even when another set of fighters, thinking that they have better chances of beating him than Rocky, lined up, wanting to compete with him. Ignoring the calls of the people around them, the two left the establishment, faces full of smiles and pockets full of cash. "Who were those scumbags trying to ruin my business?" the owner of the arena angrily said. Rocky was their carefully cultivated star. He was just telling the Marquis who visited today about their seasoned warrior, but he didn't expect to get slapped on the face immediately. He was about to go and order his men to chase the boys when the Marquis gripped his arm to stop him. "You won't be able to afford offending the man behind that boy," the Marquis advised. Although it was a myth that there were secret moves passed down in every generation, he was able to recognize some of the moves only someone who studied directly under the Duke of Suffolk for years can do. The boy, who looked no older than 20, was quick on his feet. Also, he was dexterous in his movements. Without a doubt, the boy must have undergone formal training with the sword since a young age. Aside from that, the expensive shoes, brown hair, and gray eyes were the dead give away. "You have an idea who?" "Yes. We've been trying to recruit Charles to become one of the leading faces of our cause a few years after the war ended. However, he has always been loyal to the crown. A straight man who knew no crookedness. A face you will never see in a place like this." Then, the owner asked, not getting his point. "I see that the son doesn't share the same traits as the father." TBC. Chapter 60. 60, Dressed to Impress. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Charlton and Kylo exited the gambling den, it was already 6:25 in the evening. They instructed their coachman to go straight to the pawn shop as they changed their attire inside. "Whoa! That's a nasty bruise you got there," Kylo said when he saw Charlton's ribs. "Ugh, it hurt like hell earlier." Thankfully, I was able to move a little so I didn't receive the full impact. If not, I'm afraid that I will not only have this bruise, but my ribs would have also been fractured. Anyway, should we come back there again one day? The payout is not bad. If I had money earlier, I would have bet on you. Stop spouting nonsense. If you did have it, I believe that you would have placed your money on my opponent. No way. I believe in you. Kylo said defensively. Well, Charlton was correct though. He did not believe that his friend was that good until he saw it with his own two eyes. Since the war ended, combat skills have not been on the mainstream. Mostly, people of their stature focus on politics and the academe. There was no war to fight, so what's the point? Anyway, joking aside, I don't think we should visit that place again. Why not? Obviously because, first, it's illegal. They won't be hiding underground if it is. Second, didn't you see those men at the sides? I thought they were going to chase us. What we did was bad for their business. Lastly, well, I don't want to have a fractured bone later. Charlton explained as he laughed. Scared that you will lose. Not that, but it's better safe than sorry. Talking about the money, he. Kylo started slyly. He needs some cash too. Alright, here is the 10 grand I owe you, 2 grand for interest, and I'm giving you extra 20 grand as commission and well, as finder's fee for telling me about that arena. This is why I like you, my generous friend. Kylo said as he laughed. He was so happy with the extra cash. It was kind of his first income too. Charlton smiled in response. Don't tell anyone about this though. You know how loud your mouth can be, so do try to control it. Kylo nodded his head, his smile reaching his ears. They arrived at the pawnshop at 6:45, thankfully it was still open, and he was able to redeem his shoes. Afterwards, they went straight to Ritz, which was almost an hour ride away. At 7:50 in the evening, they arrived at the hotel's lobby. Charlton went straight to the reception while Kylo went to buy some food they can eat on the way back. I would like to make a reservation for tomorrow. Are there still rooms available? Charlton asked the receptionist who blushed seeing him. Please wait a moment. Let me check. She said as she looked through the bookings. Which kind of room would you prefer? What is your best room available? The presidential suite has already been booked, but the grand suite is still available, it's 5 grand a night. Would you wish to book that? Is the penthouse not available? I'm sorry sir, we only have the grand suite and other deluxe rooms available. There is a wedding for tomorrow so most of the rooms have already been booked. Alright, I'll take that. Would you prefer a smoking room? The girl asked, getting a whiff of the cigarette smoke emitting from Charlton. No, please make sure that it's a non-smoking room. Charlton said, recalling that Serena likes to be clean. Although he never asked, but based on how he knew her, most probably she would hate the smell of cigar. Okay sir, then I would need you to sign here and make a security deposit. Would you pay in cash or in card? I'll pay in cash. After settling everything, the girl informed him that check-in time was at 3 in the afternoon and check-out was at 11:00 in the morning. He nodded in understanding and she thanked him for his patronage. Searching for Kylo, he looked around the hotel's grand lobby. It was not his first time in the hotel as he was able to come here a couple of times attending events with his mother. Charlton counted in his mind that he still had 122 grand left once the deposit was returned to him. He immediately thought of buying a gift for Serena, but he didn't have the time tonight. Anyway, he was pleased with himself, he even felt a little confident because for the first time, he earned some money on his own. You done? I bought you some snacks too. My treat. We haven't had dinner yet, but we must eat this on the road. We must get back to the school before 9. Kylo said as he approached him. Charlton nodded in agreement, then they walked back to the carriage. The next day, Charlton woke up at 10:30 in the morning. Although his body should still be aching as a result of the fight yesterday, he didn't feel that much because of his excitement, his adrenaline pumping. He first ate his early lunch, then he took a long hot shower to loosen his muscles. He noticed that his hair was becoming longer. He should get it cut the week after. He went out of the bathroom and started wearing the dress suit he meticulously prepared for today. He wore a gray tuxedo coat which didn't have buttons. It was made with a mixture of wool and had 2 functional pockets at the side. Its lapels had silver details which added a royal touch. Inside, his vest which only covers up to his stomach was made of light blue silk with a matching jabot. Serena informed him that she will be wearing a silken light blue dress with silver and crystal details, that's why he chose these colors and materials. His trousers also matched his coat, and he wore the shoes he pawned off and redeemed yesterday. He had to admit, he looked very good with these on. As a final touch, he slicked his hair back, giving a clear view of his handsome face. He gave himself another once-over as he smirked with a little vanity. He was dressed to impress and ready to go. TBC.